Six needed, and that could be the winning hit. It is. It's 6 for Lewis Gregory, and Somerset have won by 6 wickets. Tremendous win for Somerset, chasing down 194 to win, with Will Smead leading the way.
Here we are. Hello there, you're watching and listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me this evening to dissect a second Somerset loss in a row, we have the man who's seen more super overs than you, Dan Kingdom. Dan, I gather you spent the weekend in Cardiff watching it all. How was it?
It was mostly enjoyable, just apart from that second evening. I think while I was there, I think we played plenty of good cricket. You know, we've sort of recovered reasonably nicely through day 3, but it's just that second evening ruined it all, really.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be dissecting that in a minute. Also with me, head of digital marketing and anything else you need doing at Somerset is Ben Warren. Ben, how you going?
I'm good, thanks, Shep. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. And completing our quartet this evening, we have the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, who had to spend his birthday commentating on young Tom Gorton taking a hat trick just before he went out on the tiles in the diff on Saturday night. How are you, Gibbo? Another year older.
Yeah.
Let's hope we're another year closer to winning the county championship. Although on the last couple of weeks' performances, it don't look like it.
Well, no. Don't give up hope yet. We're only 16 points behind the leaders. You know, so it was very early days. But yeah, I'm a bit weary, and it was a very, very long day on Monday. A very long day. It was a slow death. And they're the worst. If you're going to get beaten, then get beaten quickly, then we can all go home. You know, to have to stay on until the last session and then lose was wearing.
It's not very optimistic of you, Gibbo. I mean, let's just have a look at the thing. Well, should we start where the big news? We had to put another row on the T-shirt. James Rew, finally, after 3 years of us teasing it and asking for it, opened the batting, admittedly after Somerset had been stuck in, and lasted 7 balls before Tim van der Hoogten knocked out his off stump. And then in the second dig, he got a bit of a ropey one that came off thigh pad or shoulder or something before it went to second slip. So very small sample size to sort of assess James Rew's opening credentials. I mean, Gibbo, what were your thoughts when James sort of came out on Friday morning now?
Well, I was a bit surprised, but I assumed that, and this is what Jason Kerr confirmed to me afterwards, it was sort of a mixture of the ECB and Somerset, and probably James himself decided that, you know, he ought to give opening a go if he wants to get in the England side. I don't think it was solely down to the ECB. I don't think Somerset are particularly likely to cave into the ECB. You know, they're their own people. But it was a very tough gig, and I think part of the reasoning was to put someone experienced or relatively experienced in with Josh Thomas, and to give Archie Vaughan a bit of a break and put him further down the orders, see if he could get some runs down the order. So, yeah, it didn't work out. But in the second innings, as you said, he got a shocking decision, caught off his hip. And it was the, second bad decision of the day. And it sort of undermined the players on both sides' confidence in the quality of the umpiring, which, had its repercussions in the Glamorgan second innings and the way Somerset behaved.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just quickly jump in. We're talking about umpiring, then we'll quickly sort of pivot back to James Rew. The only time I've ever seen umpires do that is when you're umpiring in a, you've got a touring team down at your local club. You're having 11 pints brought out for drinks, and you want to wind up your mate by giving it that one. I mean, I've never ever seen that. Put your hand up, so to speak, if you've seen that before.
No,
in a professional game or even in a league game. It's just mad. I mean, if there's a way of making old Big Craig pop that volcano top of his. That's
Exactly.
probably
That's
one way of
exactly
doing
right,
it.
Sheps. That's exactly what happened. But it started before that. It started when Mason Crane was given out caught down the leg side when he was absolutely nowhere near it.
Yeah, I saw that one as well. That was
Morgan
pretty
were
bad.
deeply pissed off about that. We were deeply pissed off about the James Rue decision, and it just went from bad to worse.
I mean, what, Dan, do they do now with the James Rue situation? Because you assume now that he's going to carry on opening for a little while.
See, I wouldn't. I would assume Herman comes in and opens with Thomas. I mean, if we're talking about the needs of the team, with Herman coming in, who is a top quality opener with a really good record in first class cricket, surely he goes in with Josh Thomas, who has just had 2 really good games opening the batting. So it does seem strange to just change the opening partnership again immediately. But if we're talking about the needs of the team and having maybe someone experienced with Josh Thomas, then I think Herman opens.
Well, Jason said to me that he's going to bat in the top 3, and he hasn't decided yet. Hadn't decided yet yesterday evening whether he'd open or come in at 3. So,
Are we talking about Herman now or Rue?
Herman.
Okay. Well, that would essentially mean that we're either going to drop Tom Lammonby or James Rue's going to go back to 4 and Herman's going to open.
I'd be surprised if they dropped Tom Lammonby. I think it'll be either Vaughan or Smead who gets dropped.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Lammonby. I would keep after Lammonby's runs in the first innings. He's done enough to stay in, I think.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about his elbow. I think that elbow's causing
the right elbow.
Yeah, I think it's causing him a lot of trouble. Yes, his form hasn't been great, but I think you can put down a lot of Lammonby's struggles this year to that injury. I think he's really fighting.
When did he pick it up then?
To be honest, I don't know. He's had the strapping on all season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely had it on in the pre-season game at Glamorgan. I'm trying to think now. Did I see any pictures with him on in Australia? I didn't really look that much, to be honest. But it's certainly the amount of strapping is reduced. So whether it's getting better and he's had a little bit of a setback, I don't know. Maybe he needs just to rest it, and that would be an ideal opportunity just to sit Sussex out and do that. Plenty of options there. Now we've got, well, yes, because it's announced during the match that we have signed Jordan Hermann, as you say, Dan, South African opener, very good record. Teammate of Lewis Gregory's in the, whatever the orange ones are called in the SA20.
Sunrisers Eastern Cape.
Sunrisers Eastern Cape. Ah, yes. Rolls off the tongue. I mean, we know that signings aren't made overnight. So this is, presumably this was kind of kicked into action as soon as we realised that we were going to have both TKC and Lewis Goldsworthy out of action for a reasonable period of time. And it looks a good acquisition. I don't know too much about him, but looking at his numbers, he looks pretty decent.
Yeah, I don't know much about him either, but yeah, his numbers are good. And yeah, it'd be good to have a bit of experience up top. I do wonder though, is it going to mean that TKC and Golders are out for a while? Going to miss the start of the Blast. The fact that Herman signed for those 2 games in the middle of the Blast, it's a bit of a worry for the Blast campaign.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
but with Riley Meredith out, they might sign him for the Blast as well.
But we can't for that period.
Yeah, that's right. They can't
because he's with South Korea.
Yeah.
We got Miguel as well for the Blast as well. Don't forget. So he's no mug in T20 cricket.
Caught up with Tom Kohler-Cadmore. What day is it today? I caught up with him back end of last week, and his hand is still in a protective splint. I think he was saying that the sort of second block is going to be where he's hoping to get to, but it, obviously these things can change, and it was a pretty significant injury. So that's all I know about Tom Kohler-Cadmore, is that he's not going to be out forever, but it isn't kind of something where he's not picking up a bat and having a net yet. Goldsworthy, I don't know.
Apparently, Golders was running around a little bit at Exmouth last night, so maybe his rehab's just sort of about starting around now. Credit
It's
to
quite a
Harry Everett
nasty
for that
tear, wasn't it?
exclusive information. Yeah.
And
So,
there's a lot of injuries going around, isn't there? You know, they got there's the form element, and then there's picking new. I think that's part of the reason why they've gone for Herman is that I think that they said at press day. I remember Andy Hurry at the press conference. They're only going to go after world class if it comes available. And not this isn't to say that Jordan Hermann isn't world class, but this feels like a different type of signing. It's a signing to help patch up, a batting lineup that's been depleted through injury, and they're still searching for an order, which is when the games comes thick and fast like they do, it is a real difficult one, isn't it, to find the solutions, and they've been forced to go into the market.
yeah, I mean, we assume he comes in. He will come in on Friday. There's no point signing him if not. So what do we make of Somerset's effort first time round then? 34 after being stuck in on a pretty lively looking Cardiff surface. Josh Thomas impressing again with 71. I mean, I can't praise the young lad highly enough about how much he's taken his chances with both hands. That's what we say you've got to do when you get your chance, because sometimes you might be waiting a long time for it. He's certainly taken that. Tom Lammonby, as you say, coming back into form with 45. And then Tom Abel again.
They had a lot of luck.
Yeah.
To be fair, Josh Thomas and Tom Lammonby on that first morning. It was a minor miracle that we got through to lunch, having lost only one wicket. And actually, it put us in the box seat, because conditions eased after that as the ball got softer. Tom Abel batted beautifully, as he has been doing all season. And good support as well from Craig Overton and Lewis Gregory down the order. And 350 should have been a winning score.
Yeah.
We got the bonus point. We got the third batting point for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
First time we've crossed that Rubicon this
even
season.
Jake Ball
managed
batted pretty well.
I was impressed with Jake Ball's batting. The wall.
Yeah.
Jake Ball, the wall.
He managed to avoid the first trigger movement back towards the square leg umpire, which was quite notable earlier on.
Good to see Jake getting in line.
Yeah.
Lovely to see. Yeah, so 354 I think was massively above par.
Yeah.
As you say, Gibbo, associated with a little luck again. Bowled them out really well as a unit. 229 all out. Can't fault that. And then what the flipping heck happened after tea?
Well, you've got to give credit to young Tom Horton. He did bowl well. He was lucky with the wicket of Rue. Lammonby it got a really good one. Couldn't do much with it. Archie Vaughan absolutely stone dead. It appeared, although I gather that Archie Vaughan himself was deeply pissed off about it. But whether he thought he hit it, well, I don't know. Apparently he was effing and blinding it as he went back up the steps to the dressing room. But no,
I don't think it's very rare you'll find a batter who's in any sort of mood, a happy mood, when they've just been sent for a golden duck and been a part of a hat trick for a kid who's playing the first game.
There didn't seem anything wrong with the decision as far as I could see.
I thought it looked perfectly reasonable.
It was just good bowling. It was just one of those things.
Yeah.
And Smead and Leach got themselves out as well. It was a bit of a sort of domino effect, I'm afraid. But thank goodness Tom Abel survived it.
Yeah. That 71 was worth 171 in other conditions. Thanks to our first innings lead of around 120, we did manage to set them to 70 odd to win. Again, but we've just 2 games in a row now thrown away winning positions or dominant positions.
I wouldn't say we threw it away.
Well, we were 32 for 6, Gibbo. It's
well,
not
yeah,
great.
all right. The 32 for 6, yes, you could say that's throwing away. But on the the last day, Tom Abel, when I interviewed him who closed with the third day, I said, what are the chances? He said 50-50. And I think that was...
I know, but we should have batted them out of the game.
Well, we should, yeah. But we hadn't. And then we got ourselves back into the game by setting them 280 odd to win on it was a difficult pitch. It sort of, sometimes it did a bit and sometimes it didn't, and sometimes it shot through and sometimes it bounced. It was a pitch that the batsmen would say they would never felt really in on. But I couldn't really fault either the bowlers on the last day or Lewis Gregory's captaincy. There's been a lot of stuff on social media about why didn't they bowl Jack Leach. Well, he bowled one over, and he got one to creep, which almost bowled Hadley, but it wasn't the sort of wicket we'd seen from Mason Crane that he'd hardly been bowled by Morgan. It was a wicket where you would be expecting the seamers to take the wickets, and they came so blooming close to taking the wickets. That was what's so agonising about it. The number of plays and misses. It wasn't if they bowled badly; they just bowled without any blooming luck. And
108, I believe it was. Is that a record, Dan? Have you got that to your fingertips? The amount of plays and misses in a day of Championship cricket.
All the way back to 1890. All the records.
I mean, I was watching it, Ben. I know you as well, sort of keeping an eye on things. And I tweeted. I didn't really tweet much during this match. I was didn't want to tempt fate or anything, but just literally could not fault the effort of the bowlers in the first hour and then pretty much throughout the day.
I mean, I think you can obviously look at it. Should they have been 30 for 6? No, they've got to find a way of, even if an opposition team are on a roll, they've got to find a way of just getting themselves 60 for 4, and then they've got to find a way to stop that. And it's concerning. Vaughan dismissal, he might not like it, but I'd be concerned. He got nowhere near it. And yes, it was a hat trick.
A little bit around his front pad as well, wasn't it? It was a bit,
I don't think a top order bat. He looked a mile away from it. Looked beaten for pace. So I think that's a slight concern for Archie to be, and I think that you just don't want to be in that. No batter wants to be in that situation. Do they coming on a hat trick ball? But you probably assume it's going to be full and straight. I think.
Yeah.
So for him to be so sort of not on the same line of it was I think a bit of a concern. However, what I will say is that I think from 32 for 6, I think Somerset have played a pretty perfect game, and that would have probably won them the game 98, 99 times out of 100 from that situation. Tom Abel played brilliantly, Lewis Gregory played brilliantly. I thought Lewis's innings was fantastic on that sort of third morning, and to sort of take the pressure off Tom, score runs quickly without taking too many risks. And I think that they bowled, they couldn't have done any more. And sometimes we say that they bowled well, but in patches they let it go. They were on, and I'd sort of like to just make a point about Jake Ball actually, because I think that he's often a bowler that goes a little bit underrated. We're quite quick to jump on him sometimes when he doesn't bowl brilliantly. But I thought he was.
I think he's been fantastic this year. I really do. I think he's been up there. He's probably been our second best bowler. After Craig, I think.
It is. Miguel was great, and Craig was probably tremendously unlucky. That everyone was unlucky, but Craig was sort of beyond unlucky with some of the things that went on his bowling. But these are good signs. It's short term pain, and we're all gutted, and especially after the Yorkshire game, it's the last thing we wanted. But I think that when we went into the season, we had question marks over our pace bowling. People needed to step up, and Jake Ball and Alfie Ogborn have both done that. So that's a big tick in the box. And on the batting, yes, they've still got some problems to solve, some injury problems, but Josh Thomas is come through as a real shining light. So there are still concerns about a few things, but I don't think we should be too downbeat for the sort of medium term, because I do think there's been some good signs, and particularly the pace bowling. They look a good unit, and they've got options, to rest and rotate. Alfie will come back in on Friday. Maybe even Josh Shaw comes in with the amount of work that's been put in by some of those pace bowlers. So I think all in all, it's bitterly disappointing. But I wouldn't bet against them turning it around.
No, me neither. I agree with that. And don't forget, it was Jake Ball who had the catch dropped, when Hadley was put down by Lewis Gregory, which is, that was very, very unlike Lewis. And I agree with you, Ben. It was interesting. A lot of the Glamorgan people I spoke to were saying, well, Somerset's pace bowling attack is so much better than ours. We just can't compare with the way they bowl as a unit. And I think that's right. We thought that was going to be a weakness at the start of the season, but actually, it's turned out to be something of a strength. And the real problem is the blooming injuries that we've had. If we'd had Lewis Goldsworthy and Tom Kohler-Capmore in the side, who knows how different it might have been. So I agree with Ben. I'm not worried about the prospects for the rest of the season. Maybe a bit more in the blast, given the absence of Riley Meredith and TKC. But in the county championship, I think we've still got every chance.
I don't know if you're worried about this as well, Dan, but I am worried that we've not nailed these two games that we should have won. Winning's a habit. Look, hindsight now, did that 1 week break come at the wrong time now when we had momentum of two brilliant away wins? Would you have done anything different if you were in Lewis Gregory's shoes on Monday?
You should have requested that Yorkshire game be brought a week forward, so we don't have the week break. On Monday. It's the obvious point is maybe we could have bowled Leach a bit more, but I think we just had the faith that if we just kept on persisting, the pace bowlers would do the job for us, which wasn't unreasonable. And if you look at the previous day, before lunch we were pretty much on it, but maybe not quite there. But before tea, wasn't it, on day 3, we didn't take a wicket. We weren't quite fully there, but then after tea, we were unbelievable. We bowled so well. We kept it so tight. We kept such a lid on the scoring rate, and the wickets, and we did chip away. The wickets did fall. So I think we just had the faith that if we just did that again the next morning, the wickets would fall. And we did do it again. But somehow Hadley and Dixon were so resolute, and they stayed there. And sometimes you just got to credit the opposition. Obviously, we weren't far away in the end. Only 2 wickets away. I really think if Gregory had held that catch in the slips a bit earlier, we may well have won.
Like 2 balls after as well that neither of them got a hand on that go between.
Yeah,
it was sort of Craig. That would have been a worldie, but Lewis's is one that he should have taken. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also say that if they hadn't sent in Hadley as night watchman, we possibly would have won as well. If it had been Cook then, it would have been Dixon then. But then Kellaway got out, so it would have then been probably Cook that night as well. The game would have been completely different. It's Ryan Hadley who's basically won them that game with the bat. It's just completely ridiculous. So, one way of looking at it is it's kind of a freak result. I'm not excusing the loss, but it's kind of a freak in a way.
Yeah, how many times is Ryan Hadley going to do that again in his career?
Yeah, exactly.
He played 250 odd balls in his old first class career, hasn't he? So, it was a very, very unique situation.
We've played so much good cricket against Yorkshire and against Glamorgan, and we've ultimately let those games slip through a session of madness in both games. It was that second morning against Yorkshire and then the second evening against Glamorgan. The rest of those games we've played pretty well. So we've got to, I don't want to say focus on the positives because that's, cliche coach speak, but we are a good cricket team. We've got to remember that and not sort of be too downbeat going into the Sussex game. Obviously, we will be tired, and that's what I'm a bit worried about. We've got to remember that we have not become a bad team overnight. We beat 2 really good teams earlier in the season away from home. All right, Hampshire haven't looked great this season, but I still think beating them away from home was a pretty good achievement. So we've got to focus on that, and hopefully we can minimum draw. I'm a bit worried if we lose again. It's just my personally as well. I don't want to be stewing over a 3rd loss in a row for a few weeks before we resume the championship. So let's get at least a draw. But if we can win that, then we can there'll be a lot of confidence back, I think, because the title's not gone. You know, we've lost twice. Teams don't usually lose. Teams never lose more than twice. And win the title in the 14 since the championship went down to 14 games. No team has lost 3 times and won the title
until now.
Well, who knows? Who knows? We nearly did in 2019, but yeah, it's not gone. The title's not gone. So yeah, we've just got to keep going at it, keep persisting, because it's an open championship this season as well. Like there's no absolute standout team.
Teams you wouldn't expect. Yeah. I mean,
the pitches. You know, if we can get a pitch like we played on Yorkshire consistently, that is again, annoying that we lost on it, but medium term positives that, you know, can we get results at Taunton? Can we? And we've been wondering over the last few years whether we can produce result pitches, particularly under the new, the regulations. And if we can get pitches like we played on Yorkshire, the answer is, I think, yes, we can produce result pitches at Taunton that don't allow us any problems with points deductions. We've just got to play better on it.
I mean, the only thing I'd say about the seamers is, and in response to the questions about Leach, I mean, I was in hindsight, I was kind of agreeing sort of Monday night, when you're desperate to think, what could we have done to win that game? We should have bowled Leach more. And then I kind of cast my mind back to when I was watching it, and at no point did I think the seamers were bowling or not doing what they were doing at enough of a level to think maybe it's time to give Jack a go. In hindsight, again, maybe I think keeping 4 reasonably identical seamers on to a guy like Hadley who's just going to line up, play for his off stump, not do much outside. Maybe you needed to ask him a different question every now and again and just see what he'd do with it, because as you said, Ben only faced 200 odd balls in his entire first class career. So it was sort of obvious in hindsight how he was set up. Maybe you need to ask him a different question. Jack's not going to go for 20, so maybe in that scenario. But in terms of looking to take wickets against sort of Dixon and the others, couldn't fault what the seamers did.
I guess the thing that we might not be considering is Jack's neck. We had an injection, I believe, in that. I mean, I'm sure he wouldn't be playing if he wasn't fit enough to play.
He wouldn't have been on the field if he wasn't 100%, I wouldn't have thought. So,
but it might have just been part of the conundrum is that, he's going to have plenty of bowling to do probably this week. It might have come into the equation, might not have done, but his neck, I know he was obviously struggling with that.
And Gibbo, death, taxes, and Sean Dixon inevitably playing a match-winning knock against his former county after he released him last year.
I'm pleased for Sean, obviously.
I am too, but yeah.
And he said, what did he say? It was very sweet, or it was sweet, and you can't blame him for that.
No.
And good luck to the guy. My near neighbour. Don't see him very often.
Is he a regular at Eli's as well?
No, he's not. Well, he has been in there, but not at the same time as I've been in there.
Oh, I see.
But
he's not.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and like all former Somerset players, I always wish them every success wherever they go.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's going to be 2 more opportunities for his success against Somerset in the Blast coming up in a few weeks' time. Anything else I've got on Somerset? I mean, the Morgan game.
Yeah, well, there was a question on Twitter about whether Somerset are doing themselves any favours with the histrionics when they appeal. And I think that's a point. But there was a lot of criticism of the way Yorkshire behaved in the field on the last day in the last game, with this sort of rhythmic clapping and all this, trying to put off the young batsman. And I do think that some of this exaggerated appealing is having the opposite of the desired effect on the umpires. I think it may be, not upsetting the umpires, but annoying them and putting them, against the fielding side. So it's not just Somerset who do it. It's almost but it's just getting a bit over the top to appeal vociferously for absolutely bloody everything. devalues the currency of the appeal, if you like.
I think there's two ways to look at this. When you are absolutely desperate for a wicket on the final day, as Yorkshire were, to be fair, I think you go for more and you go up louder for more. I think there's a bit of a line. I think, you appeal loudly, you wait for the umpire's decision, and then you accept the umpire's decision and get on with it. Or you wonder why he's waving his hand around and poking his hat when he's not giving it out. I think they're sort of earlier on in the match when, emotions aren't quite as high and everything's not on the line like it is on the final day. If you're acting like that then, going up for everything and, doing the over-excessive celeb appealing and giving it all the theatrics, then, yeah, I think that's out of order. I think when the emotions are high on a final day, you're absolutely desperate for a win. You've bowled your arse out for an hour and 2 hours, beat the edge how many times, not taking a wicket, completely frustrated. I think then it's sometimes difficult to check the emotion in your appeals. I think generally we're okay. I think it's teams that go up earlier on in the match, it's all orchestrated. No, I don't like that. But when that's why we love sport. It's about the emotion. It's about sort of watching the guys out there, leaving it all out there. Desperate to win as we all are as fans, probably more desperate. I don't think we go over the top.
Purely on my very, very minor cricketing experience at Middlesbrough Cricket Club, you just know that if an umpire is giving stuff, you always just go up that extra bit more, and particularly with, I can imagine with the Mason Crane dismissal in context, they must know that the umpire is either going to try and correct himself, or he's not quite sure, or he's not having his best game. It's a tough job, but you always know if umpires are giving stuff, you always go up that extra little bit more, and I think that's just part and parcel of being a bowler, that you try and sense opportunities, and I think that the emotion of a professional sport, I think Somerset at times over, they do go close to the line, but
it's just something we need to watch, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to get a reputation for it.
And I think as well, part of the art of umpiring is maybe not waiting for that line to be crossed and just having a little word with the captain saying, I know you're desperate to win the match, but, just ease up a little bit because there's a few absolutely stupid ones that you're going up for. All right, just remember yourselves, boys, and then leave it at that.
But there was a word, wasn't it, the last day? The umpires did have a word with Lewis at one point, which maybe it was linked to over excessive appeal, I think. And we weren't very, or maybe it was the reaction to it not being given. Yeah, we just got to be careful that, professional sport is about fine margins. And if we are making umpires a tiny bit less likely to give decisions in our favour, we do need to, keep an eye on it and,
right.
maybe just tone it back ever so slightly. But yeah, we don't want to kill the emotion, obviously, of the players either. So it's just that balance.
So none of us can work out what's going on with the slip catching then. I'm massively disappointed now because, we could be 16 points clear at the top of the table now if we won both of those games. Real opportunity missed, but as you say, a lot of cricket to be played. Just looking back as well, you say fine margins. James Rue got a shocker in that second innings chase against Yorkshire. He was nowhere near it. Given out caught behind, he got a shocker in this innings. So, a 50, 250s from Rue. We could be looking at two very, very different outcomes.
I think when umpires, I think there's a difference between not giving stuff that you feel could be given and giving stuff that wasn't out. I feel like in county cricket, there's no DRS. There's always going to be times where you hit the pads, or and you feel like it was out, and umpires have got different, and that's a matter of opinion. But I think that in this game there were two, weren't there, at least, Crane and Rue, that were given out when they shouldn't have been given out, and that's disappointing.
Well, it undermines the confidence of the players and the umpires. That's the trouble. and then that leads to all sorts of other stuff. But I'd be very interested to read the match referee's report. Not that we ever will, but he was sitting in the next door box to us. I was giving him
just
these
leant over,
meaningful
Gibbo, and
looks.
had a quick look?
Eh?
Did you not see what was his mood like? Was he sort of furiously scribbling, or was he kind of sat with his feet on the desk?
He was furiously scribbling.
Oh dear. Well,
Scribbling, but typing.
we've answered two of Forza Hutch's questions now about Jack Leach and the standard of umpiring. Well, I just wanted to say something about the standard of umpiring as well. I think we're a little bit spoiled now with DRS in Test cricket and international cricket and pretty much all televised cricket now, where the bad decisions have no consequence and we don't talk about them anymore like we used to. But with the quality of streams improving, we're seeing the bad decisions in county cricket more and more. I'm looking back at back to the 90s, watching a lot of cricket on TV. You'd see the Atherton thing at Trent Bridge, 98 against Alan Donald. That was a shocking decision, not given out, led to one of the most memorable pieces of cricket ever seen. So there were still bad decisions in international cricket by what you say are better umpires than the ones in the county game. I just think they're really, really more exposed now, and players don't have the recourse even to line decisions for runouts or anything like that.
Yeah, I've got every sympathy with umpires, but I mean, some of the stuff that went on was not great. Notably, the doffing the hat.
Yeah. That was Paul Pollard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who did he used to play for again? Remind me.
Notts.
I
think he had some time at Worcestershire as well, I think. But he
thought he used to play for Essex. Who am I thinking of that played for Essex? It was called
Pritchard.
Paul Pritchard. Oh,
He's the Hampshire women head coach, so he is around as well.
There's my joke gone. That was my one joke of the week, and it's gone. And his third question was, has El Presidente, obviously Peter Wanless, renamed the Sean Dixon Party Bar? Well, I texted Peter at the end of the game, and I just put the redacted Party Barn. Peter replied to me, Sean who, very sorry for the bowlers, you tried so hard today, but we lost it on Saturday evening. And then I got a presidential grr to signify his anger. Just one last thing on Cardiff. Is Tom Abel doing anything different that anyone's noticed?
Well, I asked him that, and he said no. But I think I'm not a cricket coach, but it seems to. I asked Mark Davis about this, and what Mark said, who is a very good coach, is that he's picking up his bat a little less towards gully and a little bit more towards slips than he has been in the past. Because something that Pete Trigo said to me ages ago about Tom Abel was that he was picking the bat up towards gully, so he comes down slightly across the line of the ball. And I think he may have corrected that, but don't take my word for it. Yeah. And he himself, if he is doing anything different, he's not letting on.
And it's definitely working, whatever it is he's doing, whether it's something mental, I don't know.
Well, it's fantastic.
But, yeah.
76 runs now.
I know. And
it's more than halfway to 1,000. Well, we're not even in the middle of May.
A lot of tough runs as well.
Oh yeah, I mean he's better.
Some real hard graft has gone into those. You look at Hampshire, look at the 2 knocks just last week. I mean, yeah, guys in some form. Long may it continue. Looking ahead then to Sussex, who are, whisper it quietly, but after having a 12-point deduction at the start of the season, are sliding quite nicely into the title race. Fourth on 69 points. They won more games than anyone else in the division. Beat Leicester, who seem to be the whipping boys of the division. They haven't won yet, by 7 wickets in the week. Briefly about the 11 that we're going to put out on Friday to face them. I'll quickly go in mine, and then you can chastise me if you like. well, I've kind of picked a 13, but my batters are in this order: Josh Thomas, Herman, Lammonby, James Root 4, Abel at 5, Smead at 6. If we think it's a two-spinner pitch, Vaughan at 7. If not, Gregory, Overton, Pretorius, Ball and Leach. Or possibly Ogbourne coming in if we believe any of them are due a rest.
I think we'll see both Ogbourne and Shaw come in.
I get that feeling as well after this championship games that they might both play. It's hard to say who it will be for because it just depends on who needs a rest. I mean, Ball is sort of the most sort of, he's often the one who has missed out for Ogbourne this season. But he didn't play against Yorkshire, did he, Ball? So he might actually be a bit fresher. So it might be that perhaps Mig drops out. He put in an almighty effort against Morgan and Bob really well. But he's obviously coming off an injury as well, isn't he? And he missed the Hampshire game after playing the first 2 games. So it could be that he misses out after playing 2 consecutive games. Overton obviously hasn't had any rests yet, but he said he doesn't want a rest.
Mm-hmm.
Does that get maintained now? I mean, he's bowled really well this season. He's bowled a lot of overs. He's put so much effort in, so maybe they'll feel that he is actually due a rest and that it's best for him. So
yeah, I got no problem resting Craig if he needs a rest.
Yeah.
I think he wasn't a fan of this kind of preemptive resting, like they rested him at Surrey.
When did we last win a game without him in the team, Dan?
September 2019 against Yorkshire. We've played 22 games since then without Craig Overton and 1-0.
I think Miguel is imminently more rest, not necessarily just because of the bowling, but I think they'll always be loath to rest Overton and Gregory just because of what they give you with the bat. And particularly Overton and, even Gregory, they've both been really solid performers with the bat this year. So I think that Miguel might be one option to, if they were looking to rest. I think it's probably going to come down to how their bodies are. Ultimately, we don't know how they've all held up after the game, but I feel like that's always almost the last thing that they want to do is rest Overton or Gregory. I mean, obviously you don't want to rest your captain that often, but just with that batting, it does. Our tail end performance hasn't been the best, so I feel like they'll want the runs, the protection of the runs of Overton and Gregory because they don't get huge amounts out of Ball. They got nothing out of Pretorius yet. He can bat. He's not really showing it.
I don't know what's happened to Pretorius' batting. He just looks completely.
Well, when did he get? He got a 70 odd, didn't he, against Notts last
last year. But this year, he hasn't lasted hardly 3 overs. Never looked like he was going to last 3 overs.
He got
at least 350s.
Worcester. We get 50 at Worcester at the outground there.
Kidderminster.
Yeah. But I mean, he's not. He doesn't look like he's gonna. When he was sent out on day 3 against Glamorgan, he clearly just couldn't be sent out with have a hack at anything because you're gonna get out if you don't.
Oh yeah, that was when he went ahead of Gregory. The only reason I can think of that is it just kept Gregory away from maybe 3 or 4 overs of newer ball and just made it a bit easier for him when he came in.
I speculated on commentary that he was a sort of sacrificial lamb, which is how it worked out. But he in none of his, I mean, that shot that he played in the second innings against Yorkshire was just unbelievable. Brain fade of the season.
Oh, I don't know. No, I've got a couple of nominations to brain fade of the season. The main one is that there might not be any kit for old Jordan Hermann to wear on Friday, but anyway, supply chain issues in the Strait of Hormuz with the kit apparently. But I'm sure he'll be clobbered out in something. Best of luck to Lewis Gregg and the boys. I mean, we've all said and we all agree, we haven't become a bad side over. Little things have gone against us, but that's not to say we couldn't have done a little bit better in those games, putting them to bed. And no good news from Somerset Women as well, Dan. They played more or less a week ago down at down at Utilita Bowl, and they, well, despite a magnificent 133 from Bex Odgers, we talked about Tom Abel's resurgence with the back. Chloe Skelton seems to have found the magic well. 250s in 2 games, unbeaten 77 off 67 for Scouts. Competitive total of 281 for 6, which was really blown away, really. Maya Bouchier showed her class 143, and they won in 40 overs.
Yeah, they had a period in the middle where it's lost in the game, I think, going from 102 for 1 to 131 for 6, and that was it, really. I mean, yeah, Odgers and Skelton's partnership was unbelievable. I didn't see it as I wasn't able to watch the stream that day. But that partnership was the highest ever 7th wicket partnership in this country in women's list A cricket. So it was, yeah, incredibly impressive. They were not out at the end as well. Skelton used to be, I don't know, from statistically, she seemed to be used more of a batter a few years ago. Just when she first played for Western Storm, she was, a bit higher up the order, but she seems to have dropped down the order in recent years and become more of a bowler. But her batting has definitely revived this season, which is great to see. And Odgers have made a few starts before that game without pushing on. So, yeah, great to see her go on to get her first century for Somerset. But, yeah, they were hamstrung by that collapse and the need to rebuild. So they weren't able to score at the pace they probably needed to on that pitch because, I mean, Maya Bouchier is obviously a top player, but the way that Hampshire mowed it down kind of implied that it was a below par score, unfortunately. And, yeah, as we've seen since we've lost the England players, we've not been anywhere near as good. I mean, well, that's a bit harsh to say not anywhere near as good, but we've not been quite as good. We've been reasonably competitive. We weren't far off against Essex. We had them 153 for 5, chasing 269, but just couldn't get the next breakthrough. Against Warwickshire, we made a good fist to chasing 337. We've not been quite there without that sort of experience and quality the England players bring, because without them, it is still a very young and inexperienced team, which in 5 years' time might be one of the best if all goes to plan and they keep getting better, because we are seeing improvements for individual players. We saw them last season. We're seeing more this season. Niamh Holland is having a good season. Odgers just scored her first century. Katie Jones was really good against Essex with the knock she played. Lola Harris has emerged this season as a wicket-taking threat with her loopy leg spin, which is really good to watch. But there's also a few injuries as well. Like the men's side, we've got a few injuries. We've signed 2 players now since the start of the season on short-term deals. Neither of them have played yet. Well, Jasmine Wesley was only signed today. So that just shows that we do have a few availability issues which are causing problems. Obviously, Sophie Luff missed the chase against Warwickshire and the Hampshire game with concussion. She'll be back tomorrow, though, by the sounds of it. So that's good. So yeah, I mean, we're still actually in a reasonable position in the table. So, and there's a long way to go. We've only played 6 games out of 16, so who knows? But yeah, we've seen improvements from individuals, which is something, I think, even if it's going to be difficult for us to get into the knockouts without the England players for most of the season.
I think a lot of the noise coming out from Erin Osborne and Sophie is, this is a long-term project. These are young players, and we are developing them, and judge us in 2 or 3 years' time, maybe not necessarily on this season's results, which I think is fair enough if you look at the profile of that squad, especially as they're going to be missing sort of 3 of their big guns. Former England captain Heather Knight and current England captain Charlie Dean, along with Danielle Gibson. I didn't see much of that. I was pretty much glued to the Somerset stream on Sunday, so I didn't watch much of the women's game at all. But a bit of a nail biter.
Yeah,
winning by 1 wicket.
Lead them home. Tough game tomorrow for Somerset when they got the Blaze.
The Blaze.
Yeah.
Well, we are making them go another 45 minutes down to Exmouth, which is always good. I like it when we do that, just to make it a little bit tougher. Exmouth, of course, Somerset sort of development 11, captained by Finn Hill, played on the same day against Devon as the men were finishing off up at Cardiff, which is. Have we got any answers as to why that scheduling happened, Ben?
I don't know. It certainly left a few headaches our side because we were trying to go to Cardiff and trying to go to Exmouth, and in the end we sort of did neither. And then we thought that the Glamorgan game would finish early enough, so then we decided to go to Exmouth, and then it didn't finish early enough. So it was it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Maybe just a word
Yeah, but
that not to happen again would be lovely.
another good game. Bertie Michael got 80 odd, didn't he? And they ended up winning by 2 runs. So, and notably for those of you fretting about who's going to keep in the One Day Cup, Finn Hill took the gloves, as well as the armband down at Exmouth last night. Just quick, then we mentioned that Riley Meredith misses the first 6 Vitality Blast games. Of course, there are only 12 now, so that's half the group games. I've had a look; they do seem to be the tougher half that he misses, which is a bit of a pain. I think two Glamorgans, Hampshire, Worcester, and Warwickshire. 2 Warwickshires or Bears or whatever they're called now.
It's Warwickshire Bears now.
The Warwickshire Bears.
Yeah.
But he is available for that trip to Derbyshire, which we're all dreading.
Yes.
two Northampton games. I think we've covered all of our questions from listeners. Maybe not giving you a name check, but I think we certainly answered most of your points, if not all. Any other business before we knock this on the head tonight?
What do you think they'll do with Meredith's slot? Do you think they'll just go with Pretorius, or do you think that it's such a tight turner, and I don't think they've potentially got many other options really?
No,
but
I shouldn't think there are any top class quick bowlers available at short notice.
No. Look at what we do. We did Craig up top. So Craig bowls in the power play. Meredith bowls out the power play. Gregory kind of bowls when needed. Dean bowls at the death, who has been replaced by pretty much Daniel Sam. So you look at Sam's bowled at the death. Goldsworthy fitting in whenever.
Sure, will probably play.
Sure, will probably play.
I think he might.
Yeah, you're probably looking at an X factor bowler to bowl outside the power play, or slightly adjust your tactics to Jake Ball. I mean, Jake Ball was more in the power play, Craig Overton style, I think. Maybe Alfie? Oh, JT. Give JT a go.
Oh, God. Well,
What do you mean, oh, God? He's probably listened to this. Yeah, they're bigging me up on Bright Side of Life. We're going to be playing the fucking King of... Oh, God.
No, I didn't mean it.
Ruin his career, Dan. Sorry. I'm backing you, JT. Even
No. Oh, it came out wrong. I just meant that JT, you never know what's going to happen at this point in his young career. Yeah. He will be a very good bowler one day, but it won't be him initially, I don't think, will it? I mean, if we had Meredith, it would have been between Shaw, Ball, and Ogborn for that one remaining pace bowling spot, I think. But now it's potentially 2 of them are going to play, and then Mig obviously comes into the equation as well. So we've got options. But yeah, I do wonder if it's going to, if we're out to seeing Goldsworthy, might it turn to a slight transitional year in T20s with James Rue maybe in that line series as well, plus with Dixon and Green having gone. I don't know. I still back us to get to the knockouts, definitely, but I don't know if we're going to be quite as strong this year. But it's T20, so who knows?
Yeah, I would think if we can get a side with 7 bowlers, I'd play JT Langridge every day of the week. Like a couple of all-rounders in there, like Goldsworthy. Obviously, Goldsworthy can bat. Obviously, Gregory can bat. Sam's can bat. Whether you can get just squeeze in another all-rounder to give you 7 bowling options, then I think JT's definitely worth a go. Because, as Sue Naftal said on Twitter that Sonny Baker was, we wanted to keep Sonny Baker, but he went because we didn't play the lad. So we don't want to see JT Langridge steaming in and knocking our heads off for,
we didn't play him because when we did play him, he went for blooming hundreds of runs.
Oh, yeah, but he played one game, Gibbo.
Well, I know, but it was hardly a... And look what happened when he played for England.
Well, I know, yeah, but he played too early, didn't he? And what we defending 115 or something. Of course, they're going to take on a young kid on debut, aren't they? They're going to, anyway. He's keeping fit now. Anyone tried beef bone broth? Is that what he's on now?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Good luck. It is.
Well, it's broth made out of bones, Dan. Sounds pretty serious stuff. But anyway, yeah. So if you are suffering from stress fractures of the back, Sonny Baker recommends bone broth. Bone broth. Oh, look at that! That period of silence followed by Gibbo's chimes. I think that's our official sign to knock this on the head. Best of luck to Sophie Luff and Somerset Women tomorrow down at Exmouth. Get down there if you can. And of course, best of luck to Lewis Gregory and the boys as they look to put their Champo season back on track against Sussex at Taunton on Friday. Gents, pleasure as always. Catch up with you soon.
Cheers, Sheps. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Guys.